Alright, guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews coming at you guys with Zoo Season 3, Episode 5 review. So basically, this show will be paired with Salvation, and both of them are CBS shows. I think I touched on this in the Salvation review, but I'm going to be doing both shows. And Zoo, I've been watching ever since season one, episode one came out, the pilot. Really been hooked on it since then. I really like the concept of it, and I have read some of the book. I haven't read it completely, but now at this point in the show, they're way off of the book. At this point, James Patterson's novel, I think it was called Zoo. It was called Zoo as well. Um, so yeah, that was a interesting book there. I think I got like about halfway into it, but that's that. But yeah, so this is season 3, episode 5. So we're already, I think there's going to be 13 episodes in this season. Again, last season had 13 as well. So we're almost getting there, getting about halfway. One more episode in a bit for halfway. But yeah, I'm enjoying the season so far. And finally, the band is back together, as that saying goes. All the characters are on the plane again and working together. I love it. It's really good. Really, decent episode. I'm not gonna say it's amazing because the other episodes were better. I think episode 4 is personally my favorite, last week's. But I mean, this is a good episode nonetheless. So, anyways, without further ado, let's get right into it. So basically, it starts off with a plane. Last episode, we saw the very ending scene with Jackson holding the harpoon, getting the what is it, the drone with the beacon basically on it. So they ended up getting the drone into the plane then, and we see them trying to tool it up and get ready with it, right? Or just sorry, unhook it, I guess, from the drone. So then they decide that they're gonna fly over the volcano, which here comes another unrealistic level of a CBS show, as Salvation has demonstrated as well. Is that they fly to Mexico within, I don't know, like it looks like it was less than an hour in the show, and they're already in Mexico over the same volcano. Kind of didn't make sense at all, but it's whatever. I mean, and they focus on the plot and the characters and all that, not really the whole realism and what we and what we imagine and stuff like that. So it's whatever. I'm fine with it, but I've gotten used to it now. Anyway, so they fly over the volcano and they want to drop the beacon in, so then all the flying hybrids will go in there and all die from the falling in the lava and the magma there from the exploding volcano. So then they of course find the Mustang in the garage area there where the door is, because they need something heavy to push it down so it gets down there fast. So then all the hybrids will be chasing it, because if they just put it down, it's going to slowly float, and then maybe the hybrids won't go into that volcano and end up burning and dying. So of course we see that all these hybrids knocking on the plane fry the electric chip that is, or the wires there that are holding Mansdale in his cell in the bottom of the plane. And this was just like hilarious for me. This guy, and I would say poor guy, but I mean, he is guilty of something. He was one of the shepherds, as we learn, and Jamie obviously has a reason to keep him down there. Now, her antics, are they warranted? That's another topic to debate as well. But yeah, so basically he gets free from the cell, and then he goes and gets in the Mustang in the back seat, and it was hilarious. Like, Jackson gets in there and he adjusts the gear so they can push the car down, and Mansdale has no idea what's about to happen. And that is probably the most hilarious part of the season so far. It's great. I really like that. So yeah. So Mansdale gets in a Mustang, he gets pushed down, and he is dead now. So I mean, it kind of ends his suffering of sort of being tortured by Jamie to do whatever she wanted. So I do kind of maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. He didn't really have much of a life left, anyways. And I don't think Jamie was gonna free him ever, really. So he's now done. Done. He's now dead. And along with the hybrids there in the volcano, so the plan works. And they are all happy then, I guess, and they fly back to the U.S. So then what happens is Logan brings Jamie into the precinct in the handcuffs, and he tells the guys he doesn't want attention. And says like the captain doesn't want attention or whatever. I don't think that was a lie. I think he was the one just not wanting Jamie to her name to be outed, and stuff like that. And of course, Mitch comes with them. And so this was sort of the aftermath of her walking in the room when they found Leanne dead, and her saying, it was me, I did it, and I'd do it again, whatever thing there, her spiel. Or Leanne, sorry, not Diane. I think I said, yeah, Leanne Duchovny is her name, and she was found dead. So this is sort of the aftermath of that. And that was really interesting. That whole sequence throughout the episode is interesting there with that. So then basically Abe tells Jackson the truth about Isaac, that he's still gone and that they need to save him. And at that point, Jackson then tells Abe his secret, that Abigail Westbrook is really his sister, which I still don't understand. Like, I feel like Zoo will bring it full circle. I know they do. They do every time. No storyline in this show is never like, it's always brought up again, and it's for a point. For lack of better words here, yeah, it's for a point. I'm just gonna say that. But it always comes full circle. So obviously, I think we're gonna learn how she's his sister. But right now, it just seems really, really confusing, and thinking like how, like what. But I'm sure they're gonna bring that back around. So anyway, so that was sort of like a little honesty hour that happened there. And then, of course, right after that, Jackson, Abe, and Dariella, they're all sitting in the garage thing there. And they receive the distress call, which we find out later is actually Tessa. And the distress call comes right from the bottom of the volcano there in the forest. So of course, then Jackson says, I want to go find this person. I want to make sure they're safe or whatever. And he doesn't know it's Tessa obviously yet. But he just, he's a good guy. He wants to save someone. And of course, so then Abe and Dariella say, okay, well, Isaac's next or whatever, right? And Jackson promises. So that's all taken care of. And then, of course, Dariella hides the whole Clementine thing from Abraham. So last episode we saw that she called those women to kidnap her, so that the deal could be done there. And of course, she doesn't tell Abraham yet at this part, and obviously she lies about it. So then the women who kidnap Clem, we see them in that little sort of looked like a parking garage to me. They were in, and they kidnap her, of course, and she wants the women want to make a deal with the black market, some black market contacts or something. She said, and it was worth quadruple. Her Clem was worth quadruple what Raiden was offering, something like that. And so of course they want to see what they can get for her. They just want the money. They don't really care about Clementine. So they tie her up in that parking garage scene, and then a really tough scene to watch actually. Clementine's about to get shocked with the car, so that she'll tell them what she stole, and of course they don't know this until Clementine then has to say it on 3, 2, 1, and then she says, "I'm pregnant." Big, which is a big deal in this world, of course, right? How are you pregnant? It doesn't make sense. So of course that's a big deal. So then the women find that out. And they say that they're gonna call the gentleman. So I thought at first this was just like call the guys, but it's actually like a organization or maybe a company, something like that. But obviously not very good stuff happening there. So then Jamie asks Mitch to be the co-counsel. And she says that she can do it because of her post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. And I'm not sure if that's actually a real thing. I feel like it is, but in this show they've said stuff like that before. And of course we are in 10 years into the future at this point in the show. So things definitely, as we saw in the Mitch and Abe scene, they have changed for sure. We know that, so this could maybe be another one of those. I'm not sure. But she wants to represent herself, and we find out later why. But at the time, it sounds kind of ludicrous, like, why would you want to represent yourself when you've already, admitted to killing Leanne Duchovny? Um, so then I'm just gonna like hit like skip back and forth here with the different things. I'm gonna go chronological order in this one, just because I find it easier for this type of show. So then Jackson finds Tessa in the where that volcano is in Mexico, and he finds out that she was the one who sent the distress call. And then they decide to go visit this witch, who apparently is stopping the hybrids from coming into that town there, and she doesn't want to evacuate with the rest of the people there that Tessa and her little group that Jackson used to be a part of already saved. Um, so then we get that whole scene where they're on their way to the witch in the truck there. And then we get the whole thing about Tessa, about how, Jackson lying, it was more than just, he lied to her. And she wanted to be a mother, and, she dreamed of having a family all of her life, which is, I bet a popular thing for a young girl, right? To think about. So, but in this world, obviously, it's a lot different. That's just not reality. You know, uh, you can't really have kids anymore. Not really, but like you can't at all, right? Because every humankind is sterile. Um, so then, um, yeah. So she says she wants to be a mother, and that really mattered a lot. And so when she sees Jackson, she sees his dad, and so that's why when he said Jackson Oz, she obviously she slapped him on the face, and that was a pretty interesting scene there. Back in episode I think 3 or 2. But yeah, so that she sees his dad in him when that when she looks at him, sorry, and so that's why she has a little bit of disliking for him. And then like what the hell? Like I had like a WTF moment here about what happens next. Like Jackson then reveals that at 19 he had a family where he had a wife and a son, and the son's name was Connor. I don't think we got the wife's name in the story, but like what? Where did this come from? Like you know what I mean? It's okay. Like this has never been mentioned in the show. I don't think, unless maybe in season 1 it came up. I don't think so though. I do not remember this at all. Maybe I should go back and watch it just to look for it. I will do that, but I'm so confused. And so he says at 19 he had a family and a son. So obviously the son probably isn't that old. Maybe a year, maybe 2. I don't know. Like in 19 he would have had to have a kid at 16 or 17. So that's yeah, it was kind of a weird moment there. Yeah, I don't know. It's a big deal there. And then he says, his son got killed at that gas station, where one of the I think it was a truck driver drove in and hit one of the pumps and ended up killing his son. So it's a really tragic story, and also connects to Tessa, and gets her sympathy there as well, and kind of says he's sorry, and but I mean it's not really his fault. Like what is he supposed to do? He didn't have any part in what his dad did. He's sort of a victim to his dad's past. So it's tough. But anyways, he tells that story. Really weird, but I'll take it. Whatever. So then that whole scene kind of ends there, and we're all left like, what? And then of course a commercial break was there as well. So we had a little time to think about it. And then so Rain Global calls Abe and Dariella, and that little video chat with that guy who we saw earlier in I think last episode 4. And he is with Isaac and saying that all the kids will be returned next week to you. And of course we and Abe and Dariella see right through it. We know that it's a lie. And of course, when Isaac says, we got candy for breakfast or whatever, Abe knew right away, our son would never say that, or our son would never say something like that. So obviously something's happening here, and they're controlling the kids, especially Isaac there. Yeah, so it's a big deal for Abe and Dariella, and so they know that they can't trust Raiden anymore. They have to go get him some way else, because obviously they're not going to get him back. And Dariella says, Abe, do you think we're going to get him back in a week? And he says honestly no. So they're at a point there where they know they have to do something, or else they're not gonna see Isaac maybe ever again, right? So that's a tough position there to be in as parents. So yeah, so then it goes back to the Logan and Mitch storyline, which I loved in this episode. It was honestly what made this episode good. There's other good parts. Don't get me wrong, but this, this is by far the best with the Logan and Mitch, and it's great to see this conflict again. We saw this in season 2, I believe, when Jamie, came back with Logan, um, and yeah, it's just great to see. I love it. And Billy Burke, honestly, I'll get to him, but he's amazing as well. So Logan and Mitch go looking for this file that Jamie says will prove her innocence. So, they want to prove each other wrong. The two men there that used to, or that, well, Mitch is in a relationship now with Jamie again. And they basically get Leanne's body from the morgue. And this scene, I don't know, like, it was pretty terrible. Uh, I mean, they get this body, and then they have to warm her finger because they think that's going to get into the iPad or the tablet. I guess they probably iPads are like old news 10 years from the future now. But so then Mitch takes her finger and puts in his mouth. That was disgusting, man. That oh I ugh, that just grossed me right out. That was pretty funny though. I mean, that's just a Mitch thing to do. And so they get in and they find out, nope, that doesn't do it. That doesn't decode the message. So then they find the little contact lens in Leanne's eye there, or Mitch does, and Logan then has to put it on. Mitch says, I already put a finger in my mouth. This is your turn, or whatever, right? It's kind of funny. Anyway, so yeah, Logan puts the thing in his eye there, and then he decodes the message, and he finds out it's nothing about Jamie's innocence. It's actually about what is it called? Melvitox B. It's called. So about some drug company that Leanne and Rain Global purchased or bought out, sort of thing. So creating some mystery there for us, and we see it later come in full circle with the kids. But I will mention that a little bit later. So then we learn, of course, Jamie did all of it just to see the file. She, confessed to the murder and all that just to see that file because she knew Logan and Mitch, being Logan and Mitch, would fight over it and try to prove who's right and whatever. And she was exactly right, and even the viewers knew at that point. So she said that she did not kill Leanne and that somebody else did. But I don't really know who else would. I still think she did kill her. That's my opinion. I don't know how else you put that. Like, who else would have killed her? Maybe Abigail, but I don't think I don't think she was up to that floor in time because she's being chased by Logan, Mitch, and basically Logan and Mitch because Jamie was AWOL. So I don't think it was her. So I don't know who would have killed Leanne. And it looked like a gunshot right to the heart. So I still think it's Jamie. I don't know how she's innocent, but I guess that'll be coming out later on. So then Jackson and Tessa meet with this witch, and of course she speaks Spanish. Jackson doesn't. Tessa has to translate for them, which is a little bit confusing. They get in this trailer with a hybrid who knows Jackson's name, and the hybrid's name is Abendigos or Bendigos. And it's pretty interesting. It's kind of like a human weird hybrid thing, and it can talk, and it says Jackson twice. So obviously that confirms that it knows Jackson's name. So that's really weird, and we're not sure exactly, what is going on with that. We're not sure where that's gonna go. That's a big scene there. And of course, they get the restraints tightened there so it doesn't kill them. And he also throws his little clicker that he kept the hybrids away with or whatever, or controlled the lions, I think it was, controlled the animals with, and so he threw that away, and so he doesn't have that anymore. So then they escape out the back. But of course, the witch and the two guys with the guns. I think Tessa said the gruesome twosome or something like that. It was kind of a funny little line there. I like that. And so they obviously get caught there. And then a really interesting scene there happens where Jackson, where they hear lions coming in, I guess, and Jackson doesn't even mean to do it, but he puts up his hand, because he's about to get shot, I think, by the two guys, and he says, wait, hold up or whatever, right? Puts up his hand, and the lions. I think they were lions or something. I don't think they were hybrids though. That's what I'm confused about a little bit. Maybe I'm totally, I don't know what's going on. Probably, like half the time. But I think they were lions or something like that. Lionesses. I'm not sure exactly. But that's what they look like. Or maybe cheetahs. I'm not sure. No, but the cheetahs would have spots. So I don't know. I think maybe lions. And they were coming in, but he holds up his hand, and they stop. They don't go to attack Jackson at all or any of the people. So we know something's up, right? We know that maybe that switch wasn't needed. And Tessa says, is this because that Appendiga smashed your switch or whatever? And he says, I don't think so. So obviously he didn't know about this. We didn't know about this. So very exciting thing there. We'll get to learn more about it. And then to reaffirm that, we see Abigail drive up in a taxi there just outside New York. She escaped, but she is severely wounded and can barely, walk and even like breathe. So Abigail does the same thing in the forest. She's about to be attacked by hybrids. I was like, yes, the hybrids are just gonna get her. That's it. A quick storyline for a villain, but I'm happy. Good, she's gone. But no, she holds up her hand the same as Jackson does in the other scene, but difference is she knows what she's doing. So she puts it up, and the Razorback hybrids there come to her, and they don't attack her. The one kind of like turns its head sideways, so it's sort of talking to her maybe, and then she says, home, and then she just collapses, and we see them dragging her away to presumably her home. So pretty interesting stuff there. So she can obviously control the hybrids. We knew that already, but we didn't know the whole hand thing and the communicating thing. So that's really interesting. We'll definitely see where that goes. And both of them have it now. So we know that there's something up with that. And we know for sure now that they are sister and brother because they have something going on there. So then Dariella tells Abe then finally, she's probably overcome with guilt. She can't hold it any longer. She tells Abe what she did about Clem and how she basically, sold her out and to get her son back. And I mean, Abe gets mad, very mad, of course, at it. And, I get where he's coming from, but he was the one who had the idea in the first place. So I don't think he can and I think Dariel says this, but I don't think he can totally be blameless in the situation, right? I think he can, he holds some of the blame because he came up with it to begin with, right? Anyways, so then I think before Dariella, tells him, they find out that she's pregnant with a blood sample from her shirt, which is a huge, huge discovery there by Abe. And they take it back to the lab there. And then after she tells Abe about it, then she also phones Mitch and says that, she knows where they took her and you need to go save her. So obviously, and then Mitch has like one of those little attacks where, it says a kidnapping and then echoes sort of. So that's an interesting thing there that chip is coming back again. We haven't seen that the last episode or almost this whole episode. So we'll see where that takes us. And then, of course, we see that later on the drug on the file, like I said before, is actually being fed to those kids at Raiden, including Isaac. And they're saying, that it's candy and stuff, and it's called Melvitox B. So, big thing there. So we'll see where that is taking us. And all the kids were lining up for that candy. So that's a pretty sad scene, actually. But, that just says, what Raiden is willing to do to basically ruin the world or whatever, do what they think is best, which is clearly not. So that's a tough scene there, but it all comes full circle, like I said before. Abe says the baby is key for mankind surviving after he finds out that Clem is pregnant, and he finally comes to the realization that she really is, and that it's possible. So that's a big thing there. And then also in that scene, Dariella says, I think we should get a divorce. and she's in tears, really upset about it, and she says, you know, that was your chance to say no, or to not say that you want a divorce or to go against it, and Abe doesn't say anything. So big scene there. Obviously their relationship is already on the rocks, really on the rocks, and this is sort of just another thing that breaks it down. And I think going forward, I don't see them two together anymore. I think too much stuff has happened between them, between her cheating and and her just doing a lot of bad stuff, and I think it's on Abe too, as well, not just her. But anyway, so he doesn't reply, and I don't think that's the reason. Like, I don't think he wants a divorce. I think he kind of does, but I think at that point he's just too consumed with Clementine being pregnant and trying to run it through his mind and get to the bottom of it. So I think that's also a reason he didn't reply. Could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. And then the very end of the episode closes out where they're at that facility there, and they show Clem the baby in her stomach. They have that ultrasound there in the room. Excuse me, and then we see the men talking because we know it's too good to be true, of course. Excuse me, and then we see the men talking outside of the room, and they say, tell the gentleman that the bid starts at $80 million. So obviously the gentleman is a organization there, not a good one, like I said before, and $80 million. That's a lot of money, and obviously clearly because she's pregnant, and that's a big deal in this world. So pretty interesting stuff there. Good way to end the episode. Gives us some suspense. But yeah, so we don't know what's gonna happen to Clementine now, and Mitch is the only guy that can save her right now, and I just don't know. I just don't see how he's gonna do that. Alone, storming in there and taking her. I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, she did the same for him at that thing there in Iceland or whatever. So we will see. We will see. I hope he does, of course, but we'll have to see what goes on there. So that basically wraps up all the episode. I think I missed a couple parts here and there, but this is sort of just the main stuff that happened in it. And yeah, so I'll get to my rating. Alright, so my rating for this episode here is a 3.7 out of 5. So not my favorite episode, like I said before. I think episode 4 was a really good one. But yeah, this one just wasn't my favorite. But I mean, the scenes with Logan and Mitch were really funny. The whole thing with Jackson and Tessa was kind of interesting about them sort of getting back together, sort of. And then the whole Abe and Darielle storyline there with Clem. So I think it was a good episode. Don't get me wrong, but I think some of the stuff was just sort of run of the mill, week to week sort of thing. I think it was sort of a down episode compared to the last week's episode. So they kind of follow a big episode with lots of suspense, and then they come down and then they go up. So and I like that. Of course, you're gonna get more viewers that way for the show. But yeah, I think this one just was not as good as others, but still a decent episode. I mean, it was up to standards with Zoo. And then my favorite character for this one is Mitch Morgan. He's pretty much my favorite character for all of the episodes. I do like Jackson. I do like Abe. And I'm liking Jamie's character, where that's going. Logan, don't mind him right now. But Mitch Morgan, I mean, Billy Burke is the actor there, and he's great in the show, and so glad that he came back for this season. We all thought he was dead, but he came back, so that was really cool there that he's back now, and I just love his character. I mean, he's so smart and funny at times where he can be putting the finger in his mouth, like who would do that except for Mitch. So really cool character there, and now he's back with Jamie as well. So cool stuff there. Really good development in this episode. I'm excited for episode 6. And then after that, we're going to be halfway to the finale of this season. And from this season on, I'm not sure where the show's going to go. But hopefully the rest of the season is really good. So anyways, guys, that'll do it for me. And yeah, I'll see you next week for Zoo Season 3, Episode 6.